Hey folks, how's it going? This is Mr. Murray coming to you with a video recapping the My Quadratics practice worksheet. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the worksheet that I assigned to you guys and kind of go through the problems and explain to you the basic ideas that you want to think about here. So the directions were essentially to factor each expression where the order of the factors does not matter. And as it turns out, you guys were the first group to really test this website that I built that makes these kinds of worksheets. In fact, if you have a camera, whether that be on your phone or whatever, and that can do QR codes, and you scan this QR code in the top right, what that will do is take you to this website and generate for you, okay, another example worksheet just like this with the exact same type of problems in the exact same mixture of difficulty levels. Okay, so something worth considering if you'd like to get additional practice. Furthermore, most of these sheets do come with answers. I withheld the answers on this one because I want you to try on your own before I release those answers to you, and I decided to do it in video form because the answers don't give you a complete step-by-step breakdown in this case. So that's something I'm working on, and that might be available in the future. Okay, so again, our directions are to factor completely. So let's start with this first one here. We have x squared plus 11x plus 30, right? And as our goal is, we want to build our box, and I see some repeats already, and that's okay. So it looks like 3 and 5. You kind of buy one get one free there. Lucky you. All right. So I've got x squared. I've got 30. So this needs to be x and x. And now I need two numbers. I've got to multiply to 30, and it turns out if I do 6 and 5, this is 5x and 6x. So it's a total of 11x. And then we have the 30. So the answer we should have here is x plus 6, x plus 5, or x plus 5, x plus 6. One of those two ways. Okay, over here, let's take a look at this one. So similarly, we set this box up. We get x squared and 20. So to get x squared, I need x and x. And to get 20, I can do 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And I'm going to choose 4 and 5 because when I do 4 and 5, these will add up to 9x. So my answer here would be x plus 4, x plus 5. Okay, if I start to go too fast, please feel free to kind of pause and rewind at any time. Okay, now going on to number 3. Okay, so 3 and 5 are going to be the same, so I'm not going to cover 5 in this video because I've already done it if I cover 3. So you have x squared and 10. So I have x and x, and I want 7, so I'm going to do 5 and 2, because then I get 2x and 5x for a total of 7x. So I have x plus 2, x plus 5. Okay, coming over to the next one, this one's a little bit more challenging because I've got a mixture of a plus and a minus that I'm looking for because I'm multiplying to a negative. So that is, I've got my x squared and my negative 26. But now how am I going to multiply to this but also get those remaining boxes to add to negative 11x? So here I've got my x and my x. And out here I'm going to use negative 13 and positive 2. Because if I do that, that gives me negative 13x and positive 2x, which is negative 11x. So this would be my final answer here. Okay, again, 5, I'm not going to cover that because that was already covered in number 3. So I'll move on to number 6. Now in number 6, it's just a little bit more challenging because you can see a is not 1. So remember, we'll put our 7x squared up here and our 10 down here. To get 7x squared, there's only one way you can do that. 7x and x, because 7x times 1x is 7x squared. Now I need to make 10, but I need to be careful how I do this. First of all, I need two positive numbers to add to a positive and multiply to a positive. But with 10, I could do 10 and 1. I could do 5 and 2. And now you have to think about where you're putting the numbers, because one gets multiplied by 7 and the other gets multiplied by 1. So you got to think about that. Ooh, okay. So I'm going to put the 7. I'm going to have the 7 get multiplied by 2. And I'm going to have the x get multiplied by 5. So I get 14x plus 5x is 19x. So I have 7x plus 5x plus 2. Moving on down to my next a more than 1. Okay, same idea. We build our box. We set up our 3x squared and our 10. I'm going to put a 3x and an x, because when I do that, 3x times x is 3x squared. And I'm going to get a similar thing. So if I do, how about negative 5 and negative 2? Because negative 5 times negative 2 is 10. And then here you get negative 2x, and here negative 15x for a negative 17x. So I've got 3x minus 2, x minus 5. Okay, now in this problem, we have a similar thing. We have 7, negative 13, and 6. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to show you guys a strategy that's a little bit different from this. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to break up this 13x so that I make groups. And then what I'm going to do is rearrange those groups so it looks something like this. So what I notice is that I split up this 13, so it's a negative 7x and a minus 6x. Okay, what you'll notice is, well, first of all, negative 7 minus 6 is negative 13. So these expressions are exactly the same. But notice how these both have a 7 in common. So if I remove a 7 and an x from both of these, what I'm left with is, well, what times 7x is 7x squared? X. What times 7x is negative 7x? Minus 1. Here I'll take away a negative 6. And here, what times negative 6 is negative 6x? X. What times negative 6 is positive 6? Negative 1. And now that these both have an x minus 1 in common, I'll write my x minus 1. And then I'll remove 7x minus 6. And I get something like that. Okay, so if you do the box, on the other hand, I get 6, and I get 7x squared. I know I need to have a 7x and an x, so that I multiply to 7x squared, right? And then now I got to multiply to the 6. So to multiply to 6, well, there's a lot of different things I can do. But what I notice is, if I let this be negative 6, and this be negative 1, then I get negative 7x minus 6x. Here's another example of what I said to you guys, be careful, because don't forget 1 and 6, or 1 and whatever the number is, because sometimes that could be the combination. And that's exactly what you get here. Okay, so either way you get the same answer. So I'm going to do that again. I'll show you 9 both ways. So first, with our quote-unquote grouping and rearranging method. So again, when I'm looking for this, I need to be able to take something out. So notice I chose 7 because it would match up with that 7. So here, let's try, how about we choose 5? The only trouble that you run into with this is if things don't work out quite as well as you intended to. So you got to be careful with this strategy. So if I do 5 and then I do minus another x, okay, this is not going to necessarily work out as well, because I'm going to get 5x, x minus 1. I'm not going to be able to really replicate this with the other part, with the minus 8, right? Because this is x minus 8, but I can't seem to find an x minus 8 in there. And the reason that this might be is because this is actually going to be made up of a part that is positive and a part that is negative, and it's sometimes hard to see that. I don't personally like to use the grouping method on quadratics. So let's see if we can use the box to figure out how we might do the grouping. So I have 5x squared and my minus 8. To get 5x squared, I'm going to go 5x and x. And now to get negative 8, I've got negative 8. Well, let's worry about the 8. I know it's a positive and a negative, with the negative further from 0, because we need to get a negative. So I've got 8 and 1. I've got 4 and 2. And I need to get negative 6. Ooh, I'm going to go negative 2 and positive 4. So that rule, actually, interesting. I think we might have turned that rule on its head, because it looks like that number isn't further from 0. And that has to do with the fact that you're multiplying by the 5. And that can sometimes have the effect of skewing things a little bit. So what I get is 5x plus 4, x minus 2. Now, how could I get that out of there? Well, what I'm thinking is, oh, yeah, see, it's tough to do it like that. So what I'm thinking is, well, you had to have 5x squared maybe, and then you break it up maybe into 5x. So I can see the 5x and the x. But see, this isn't x minus 2. It's x minus 1. So I'm thinking the way you would have had to break this up is 5x minus 10. So 5x squared minus 10x plus 4x minus 8. I mean, that's the only real way that you could break this up in a way where you could easily see how that breakdown works. But here's the thing. It's not really obvious. And again, that's why I'm not a huge fan of this strategy. So I'm going to say, unless it's really obvious, you got to be careful with that grouping stuff there. Okay, the signs can make that a tricky strategy. I'll box the last one. 3x squared and negative 14. So this is 3x and x. Okay, to get negative 14, so I know I need a negative and a positive. I can do 14 and 1 or 7 and 2. I'm going to do 7 and 2. So let's make this 7 and this negative 2. So I have negative 2x and 21x, and these combine to get positive 19x. So I get 3x minus 2, x plus 7. Okay. So in recap, we're doing the factoring here. I've got x plus 6, x plus 5 on number 1, x plus 4, x plus 5, x plus 2, x plus 5, x minus 13, x plus 2. 5 is a repeat, so we skip that. 6 was 7x plus 5 times x plus 2. Okay, 7, 3x minus 2, and x minus 5. 8, 7x minus 6, x minus 1. 9, 5x plus 4, and x minus 2. And 10 was 3x minus 2, x plus 7. Again, the order of the factors doesn't matter. I would not mark you down. I would prefer if you have a case where a is more than 1. And I would like if you put the one that's more than 1 first. But personally, it doesn't make a difference to me because multiplication does not matter. So hopefully you're able to get this correct. Please keep in mind that I do need to start moving on into new stuff soon. So if this is something that's still challenging for you, that's totally okay. I would encourage you then to go ahead and, using your phone, scan this right here, because what that will do is take you to a website, take you to the willnot.fail, and generate a worksheet just like this. Then you can take that worksheet on your phone and send it to yourself, or you can do the problems right on your phone and then simply scroll down and there will be a separate page with the answers. So folks, thanks again for watching. Always feel free to let me know if you've got questions. Don't forget my weekly office hours Tuesday mornings, as well as our weekly Google Hangout. But just, folks, stay positive, keep your head up, continue to work on the factoring stuff, because look, I know it's not easy, but as long as you take a positive mindset, you can successfully do this. All right, folks? And so no matter what, remember, you can do it. Until next time, have a good one.